Hey, Chris Romrell, welcome to the Wolf and Iron podcast. Great to have you here, man.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So, like I told you before we started recording this, I've got a ton of questions. They're going to be
Yeah.
kind of all over the place. Some of these are going to be things that, well, probably all of it's stuff that's just like, duh, for you because you work in this industry. But for us who are kind of observers and who have grown up just loving the idea of stuntmen and stunt work and all that, it's just kind of like black box of mystery where we just don't really understand how it all works and what goes on. And so I'm going to ask a bunch of questions, and I'll probably bounce around here a bit, and but it should be good for both of us. So I figured we'd start off by you introducing yourself, telling the world and the listeners about who you are, how you got started, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, I'm Chris Romrell. I got started in Utah, of all places. I kind of fell in love with Jackie Chan movies and Dragon Ball Z, got into martial arts, met some of my best friends there, and we started making our own Jackie Chan fight scenes with the high eight camera and kind of built ourselves up from there year over year. Started doing low budget, no budget things, and over time built up a good stunt reel, and that kind of got me noticed by some Hollywood players. And here I am now working with Chris Pratt and working on Guardians 3 in Georgia right now.
Oh man, dude, that's exciting.
So yeah,
That's very cool. So I one of the things that I've seen from most of the people who I've seen be successful in the film industry is that they have a very much just a get after it kind of attitude. Like
yeah,
they're involved early on. Same with the guys. In my mind, I kind of compare you guys to the SEALs, like Navy SEALs and Special Forces guys, in different kind of ways. But just because there's this attitude from early on of just like I want to do this, and I don't care if it makes me any money or not. I'm just going to be a part of this because I want to do it. How much have
yeah.
you seen that play out in the guys that now that you're kind of at, you're kind of getting up there with your career? How have you seen that play out with the guys who are at that level, kind of similar level as you?
You have to have that attitude, especially in the beginning, because you're going to be poor in the beginning. I tell people who are looking to get into the stunt industry, it's going to be about 5 years before it becomes your main source of income, and that's if you're lucky. That's if you're working really hard, you're networking, and you're making all the right moves. It is difficult to break in, but that mindset really helps. That mindset of this is what I want to do, and I'm just going to go for it. And I think that's a pretty standard mindset for most stunt people. We're kind of, uh, we're all kind of similar in that way, I think.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I got a bit of a story here, and this will help. Hopefully, it doesn't take too long to tell. This will kind of guide a little bit of our conversation. So some years back, there was this TV show called Sleepy Hollow. It was all about like Ichabod Crane and Headless Horseman and that
yeah,
kind of stuff. And they actually did a filming here, pretty close to where I live. And I decided to take the day off, and I was just going to go be an extra on it, right? And so the setup was it's like 1776, the Revolutionary War is going on. It's you got the colonists and all that kind of stuff, and then you got the redcoats coming over the wall and everything like that. And I got to be a mountain man because I had a beard. And one of the things that was interesting about it was because they had to be historically accurate with the costumes and stuff. And they took this stuff very seriously. The whole thing was
yeah.
an eye opener for me. But I had the worst shoes in the world because the shoes back then really
Oh,
sucked. And so we had to run up the hill like 15 times. Anyhow, one of the things that I saw there, that this was my first like seeing stuntmen do their thing in action, like in person, was that I was impressed by a couple of things. One, that they would get up and do it again, like whatever that crazy thing, was. Two, to me, they seemed to be the hardest work guys on the set, but they were also some of the happiest guys there. They were just like happy to be doing, whatever it was that they were doing. And then three, they had this like camaraderie about themselves. Like they just like were bros there on the set doing their stuff. And I know there's stunt women and stuff like that. I'm not trying to, for the shoot, it was just a bunch of dudes. And, I just thought, man, there's so much of that men long for, like that kind of camaraderie, that kind of just action and adventure, that sort of just, physicality to it. And so that just gave me a mad respect for those guys. And then I started kind of following you and other people on Instagram just to kind of see like, what's that life like? And so that's sort of one of the reasons that I wanted to talk to you. And I wanted to just say, are any of those components things that you see? Am I just kind of like idealizing it because, I had one day on a set, kind of thing.
No, I think you're right. I think there's definitely a camaraderie among stunt people. It's a tight knit group. You know, once you're at a certain level, everybody knows everybody. You know, it's one of those things that you don't really you. That's what's so hard about breaking into the industry as well, is that people don't hire you unless they know you. They know that you can do, you know, the whatever the gag is. They know they can trust you. They know that you're not going to make them look dumb on set. And so getting to know people and getting to be put in a spot where people can see you do your thing is really hard. So but once you're in, you know, and you do a good job, you're in. And they'll recommend you to other people, and it'll start to snowball from there, you know, as long as you have a good attitude. And so it's kind of a camaraderie of people that have all worked with each other. You know, it's a kind of a small town in that sense, for better or worse. So yeah, there's a lot of I don't know, a lot of brotherhood in there.
Yeah, for sure. When did, for you, kind of like time wise, year wise, or something like that, when did it, like, you finally started thinking, okay, this is a legit thing that I'm doing. I can actually pay bills now, and you know, all that kind of stuff. Was it when you teamed up with Chris Pratt, or was it before that, or what?
Yeah, I mean, I actually had a kind of a crazy story about that. I mean, I was going to school in Utah. I had another job. I was an editor, making no money there. And I was doing stunts, working on low budget, no budget stuff, things that nobody's ever heard of and nobody will ever hear of probably. But just having a great time working with great people. And I knew that there was going to come a time where basically I was going to have to just settle down and have a square job. And I got married, and right away we were pregnant. And I just remember thinking, well, if this doesn't work out, you know, within these 9 months of being pregnant, it's just not going to work out.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to get a square job and just move out of my parents' basement. We were living in my parents' basement at the time. And I remember just praying and praying and praying and hoping and wondering how this was going to work out. It was the hardest I ever pushed in my life. I was like, because basically the choice was I could be depressed for the rest of my life at a desk job.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't very good at school, or I could hopefully make this dream work. And I remember I just one night, I just had this feeling just hit me. And I knew for a fact that I was going to double Chris Pratt. And I didn't tell my wife this at the time. We were struggling very much financially. She was under a lot of stress as well. And I just knew that I would sound crazy, but it was just so much confidence. Like every anxiety I had was just gone.
Yeah.
And my first indication that I wasn't just crazy was that I actually got a call for Deadpool 2, just out of the blue. And nobody from Hollywood had ever called me before. And I got a call from the assistant stunt coordinator saying, hey, you know, we think that you'd be a great fit for Ryan Reynolds on Deadpool 2. Can you send over your sizes? That never worked out. There's some internal shifts on that movie, but that kind of just let me know, like, okay, this is something close, I can do. Yeah, I'm getting close. And so I continued on with it, and somebody had sent me a screenshot of a Facebook message from a group that I wasn't cool enough to join. I didn't have enough industry credit to be a part of the secret group.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was basically the message said, hey, looking for 6'3", 6'2", 6'3" stunt people that can do Hong Kong style fight choreography. You know, and growing up with my best friends, that's what we did. We just mimicked Jackie Chan fight stuff and filmed ourselves. So I had a pretty good handle on that. And the deadline to enter this was like 5 minutes away. So I pooped together an email. I had a scrambled reel that I put out there, and I'd been sending emails every day. I'd been treating it like it was my job, like my 9-to-5 job, for the entire time my wife was pregnant. This was probably 6 months into her pregnancy.
Yeah.
And this was the one time I ever got an email back, and it was from Monique Ganderton, and they were doing a movie called Wolf Warrior 2 in China. And she said, hey, you look like we love your stuff. You look too young for what we're doing, but keep in touch. We might be able to use you on the next one. And I was like, that was the kindest blow off I've ever received. So every month or so, when I had something cool to send, I'd go to like the gymnastics gym or just in training or something. I'd send it off, and usually I would not hear like a response from her. Sometimes it'd be like a thumbs up, and I always just thought like maybe I'm bothering her, maybe
Yeah.
she hates it, whatever. But eventually, she sent me an email saying, "Hey, do you have any video of you doing some wire work?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I called my friends up. I was like, "Hey guys, we need to do some wire work right now." So we got together that night, filmed some stuff at midnight in a gym that would let us in, and I sent it off in the morning. No answer.
Hmm.
A week or two later, I get another email. "Hey, do you have any video? Could you get one of your friends to and do this short choreo?" And there's these two like legendary stunt dudes that I still look up to doing this choreo that's just bonkers. It was amazing. And so I got one of my friends, and we filmed it that night, and I sent it off. And anyway, again, didn't hear anything back. And then a couple weeks later, I get an actual phone call from Monique. I remember it was a phone call. She said, "Hey, can you be to a fitting tomorrow at noon?" And she told me the address, and the address was in LA. I didn't tell her that I lived in Utah. I didn't want any hiccups about getting hired, So I was like, "Yeah, sure." And I was too poor to like afford gas to get down there. I did not trust that my car could make the drive. It's about a 12-hour drive. So I asked my mom, I was like, "Hey, can I borrow your car and drive to LA?" And luckily my parents were super supportive, and I got down there. I slept on my friend's couch for like 2 hours. And when I pulled up to the address, it was like triple gated with like cameras everywhere, no markings. And I got buzzed in like one gate, got buzzed in again. And as soon as I like made it inside, there's posters everywhere for Marvel stuff, all these Marvel characters and things. And I realized it was for the next Avengers movie. And they led me to the back, and they pulled out Chris Pratt's wardrobe from Guardians, and they're like, "Try this on." And I was like, "Oh man." So I started trying this stuff on, and it fits perfectly. And the costume ladies are like, "Oh my gosh, we don't have to do any changes. They're like the same size. Oh, this is great." And they're like, "All right, great. That was it." Like, all right. And I left. I slept. I went back to my friend's place. I slept on his couch, and then drove home. And then about a week after that, I got an email from Monique saying, "Hey, can you be out in Georgia on January 3rd?" And that was 2017. And that was my first day of Avengers Infinity War, which got me linked up with Chris Pratt. And now I'm friends with him, and he takes me around doing stunts for him. So it's been a good ride.
All right, so I got to ask. So when you're in there and you're trying on the, Chris Pratt's outfit and stuff, are you trying to play it cool, like, "Oh yeah, it's no big deal, it's just another day on the set for me,"
Yeah, I really
or are you
was
just like, you're like, "Ooh."
I was geeking out, and I was trying to hide it because I was like, "No, just try to act professional, like you do this all the time,"
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like this could be the most life-changing moment, and turned out to be.
Yeah.
And so I was just trying to play it cool and not sweat too much on the costume.
Man, that's awesome. I love that story. So, what was it like then? Or maybe it hasn't happened yet, but have you gotten to that place where it's just like, "Oh yeah, this is what I do. This is my job," that kind of stuff, or is it still like in your mind, like, "Wow, I can't believe that this is my job, that I do this thing." Um, how does it kind of sit with you these days? A little bit
I
of both.
mean, it does. It's a little bit of both. This is my job, and but I am keenly aware that it could be taken away at any moment, right? I could get hurt, and I could be out for 6 months, a year, more. There's so many factors that could go into me not working and doing this anymore. And so I'm very grateful for the experience. At the same time, does feel like, this is my job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I don't mention it to people when I meet. I used to mention it to everybody. First time meeting. So I'm a stunt man. Like whatever the worst segue was to bring it up in a conversation, I bring it up. But now it just feels so normal. It's like I don't even think about it.
Yeah. How has it changed your mentality towards, practicing and doing different things, getting ready for maybe whether it's getting ready for a role or just kind of staying active and ready for whatever the role may be? knowing that if you do jack yourself up, then you're out for a year, could totally derail your stuff.
Yeah.
Does that, yeah, I guess how has it changed your approach to just staying ready?
It's I think it's probably changed my approach very little, if at all.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm very lucky in that my career is just an extension of my hobbies. So even if I was doing a desk job, I think I would still be out, going to open gyms, doing tumbling, practicing parkour, filming fight scenes with my friends for YouTube. I think that I would still be a part of my life.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Give us kind of an idea of what it's like day on the set. Maybe, and let's back up actually even a little bit more before that. So how much of a heads up do you get? Because since you're kind of attached to an actor and you're not just sort of like always like, hey, we need a stunt guy to do this random thing, just show up. How much of a heads up do you get as to what the role's going to be, the requirements, if you got to gain weight, lose weight, those kinds
Yeah.
of things?
Well, I usually will text Chris before a show, and I'll ask him what his plan is. Hey, what's your goal weight? What's your plan? What's your diet? Whatever it is,
Yeah.
so that I can kind of be approximate, similar build or whatever his goal is. So for that, I just rely on Chris. But some shows are different than others. Some shows I have a lot more access to information. I have a lot more trust from producers and directors and things to provide input. And some shows I'm almost completely locked out of knowing anything.
Yeah.
And both are fine. I can work under either condition. It's just a lot easier knowing what's coming up and being able to prepare for it. Because I consider my job, especially being Chris Pratt's stunt double,
Yeah.
since I'm requested by him, I'm there because of him. My job is to make him look good. And the more prep time, the more, forethought I can put into that, the better I can make him look on screen.
That's a really good way to think about it. Does he ever like text you like, dude, we're gonna have to cut weight and this is gonna suck, and you guys both are like, gosh, carrots again,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that anybody likes the diet,
Yeah.
and I think him and I both really like to eat. I'm a burger fanatic,
Yeah.
and luckily I don't have to do the shirtless scenes usually.
Yeah.
There is a shirtless fight scene in Terminal List that I did have to get cut for. But usually it's, the shirtless scene is him like switching shirts, and it's all him. So I don't have to have the definition that he does usually.
Yeah, I guess that's good in some ways, right?
Yeah.
But that's because every guy wants that that dream body or whatever, just at least for the 5 minutes that it lasts or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. I had Jack Carr on the podcast sometime
Oh, I
last
love
year.
Jack.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
His conversation about how he had originally wanted Chris Pratt to be James Reese, in that when he was writing the novel, was just like, oh man, like, and how that came together. I think maybe Chris is like got some kind of magnet. He puts it out there in the universe somehow and just pulls people in. That
He's a master, I think, of manifesting. His whole team, his hair, his makeup team, his assistant, his stand-in, his costumer, the people that he has around him. I've never seen a team like it. I mean, he just surrounds himself with good people, and he is one of the nicest people, celebrity aside, just the nicest, best people to work with.
Yeah.
Hands down. And so the team that he has around him is just, I'm just really grateful to be able to work with everybody on that team. And I think that, like you said, I think he kind of pulled that together with just his mind power. I'm not sure exactly how it happened.
Before I forget, I wanted to say I appreciate you and Chris Pratt and how you guys are open about your Christianity without just trying to like shove it down everybody's throat all the time. I'm a Christian as well. And most of the followers that check the podcast out, I imagine are. But I appreciate the way in which you guys go about just kind of just being good dudes and and saying good things. And
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think it means a lot, especially kind of coming from that industry where everybody has the opinion of sort of negative opinions about what Hollywood is really like and all that kind of stuff. And to see some good guys out there makes us feel better about actually going to see the film. And we're like, we want to support these guys because they're doing good stuff. These guys are good dudes. So I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
I mean, I give all credit to Chris. You know, I think at that level, it's a lot harder. It's easy for me. Nobody cares. Nobody looks at stunt people. But for Chris to be outspoken Christian, it's hard. He catches a lot of flack for it.
Yeah.
You know, but at the same time, I think he gets put in so many good situations because of it. You know, like on Terminal List, we were surrounded by veterans, you know, ex-Navy SEALs, good Christian people who all just wanted to make this amazing product, and all came and rallied around, you know, Chris, really. I think that it really pays off in the end.
Yeah, for sure. So how does it change you in terms of watching your films or the films that you're in? Are you like, oh my gosh, I want to go, and you have that same excitement, or are you like critiquing them as kind of like an artist does? You know, we sort of like, if I read my book, I'm
Yeah.
like, I can't believe I said that, or could have done that better.
Uh,
You know, how's it go?
I hate watching myself on playback.
Mm.
I just, yeah, I don't like it, but I go and see it anyway. You know, my wife wants to see it, so
Yeah. I've not seen
yeah,
anything where I've thought that was stupid or that didn't look good. But you know, I'm not the guy,
yeah.
right? I don't know. It's sort of
I
like whenever
appreciate
if
it.
you're doing a play and you miss a line, like nobody in the audience knows, you know,
Yeah,
if it could have been better, it's like, but everybody else is just
yeah.
there having a great time. So it's very cool. Let's see. I'm trying to think about what else I can ask. I got a bunch of questions here. Um, how important is it, do you think, if a stuntman is getting paired with like an actor, those personalities have got to match up like that. They get along and stuff like that. Cause like on the set, are you guys talking about, okay, I'm transitioning from this scene, or this is how this is supposed to go? Or, you know, is there a lot of, you know, back and forth between the actor and the stuntman, or is it like the stuntman has their own role and they're getting coached from somebody else and not so much with the actor?
You know, it's all kind of led by the actor themselves.
Okay.
You know, fortunately, Chris and I have a really good working relationship, and he trusts me, and I trust him, and so I can collaborate with him on action sequences or fight scenes. I can step in between takes and be like, hey, well, you moved like this, try this way, and he can adapt. And he's an athlete. If he wasn't a superstar, he would be an amazing stuntman. So it really just depends on who the actor is. I know actors that don't like to see their stuntman. They don't like to acknowledge that they even have a stuntman. You know, there's some actors that, you know, are really cool and down to earth, but just do not care at all about the action.
Yeah.
You know, so that dynamic really is like kind of on an actor by actor basis, I think.
Yeah. That's good. That's good information. Good insight. What's travel like for you in terms of just like, is it just are you all over the place right now? And, you know, and how does that life work with, you know, being married? Do you guys have kids? I can't remember.
Yeah, we got two kids. We got two boys, a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old.
Okay.
And let's see, in the last several years, we've been in London, we've been in California, we've been in Georgia, I've been in Iceland. I mean, there's been so many different places we've been. And I think that when we first got married and when our kids were younger, it was hard.
Yeah.
But you kind of make those sacrifices for family. You know, for us, we put family at the very top, you know, so it's not really a question. You know, my family comes with me. If I'm going to be gone for a couple months, they're coming with us.
Okay, good.
Right. And it's hard, but it also has a lot of payoffs. We are lucky enough to miss a lot of places. We're lucky enough to have friends that we miss in a lot of those places.
Yeah.
You know, and our kids get to see a lot of the world. They get to experience a lot of cool things. So it has its payoffs.
Yeah. And your wife, Kat, she's a stunt woman, right? Am I saying that right?
She's an actress.
Oh,
Yeah.
she's an actress. Okay.
I've been trying to train her on stunts. She's more into the acting world though.
Okay. So but she's kind of in that industry. So you guys share some of the same passions there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's cool. That helps. I think it would be really tough, and maybe I'm just wrong on this, But it'd be really tough if one person was like so into like this is my life, and the other person was like, well, I need to be a not stay at home mom, but just
Yeah.
stay here, not go out of my town, kind of person.
Well,
Um,
and that was our situation for a long time. When I first came out to Georgia for Infinity War, I had no idea how long I was going to be out here.
hmm,
We were staying in a hotel. They went back to Utah for a while, and it was a big strain because she was a stay-at-home mom for that time. She wanted to make sure that our kids were taken care of.
yeah,
Also, I mean, we came from not having like any money to do anything with, to now mismanaging our money. Like we didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know how long this was going to last either.
yeah,
So she kind of was a stay-at-home mom for many years, and that was really taxing on her. That's a lot to ask of somebody to kind of
yeah,
set their dreams aside while I'm, out traveling the world, and they're kind of like, holding on to my coattails is what it feels like for her.
yeah,
But we reached a place where we budget for things that are important. We budget to have our kids in school wherever we're at. We have a budget for a nanny so that we can go on dates every week. We have a budget so that my wife has time in the week to pursue her own acting career. And I think by really kind of tacking down what's important to our family and focusing on those things and putting a budget to it, we've mitigated kind of all those stresses that come, from traveling so much.
yeah. I like the practicality to that. My wife and I, like I said, we've been married for 26 years. And, for the first several years, it was just really tough because we were broke and didn't know what we were doing. And the kids came along and, all that kind of stuff made it harder.
Yeah.
But, we both own our own, we co-own and co-run Rustic in Maine, our other business now. And so we've got to be all those years basically of budgeting and planning because we homeschooled and she was a stay-at-home mom and I was a software guy. All those years of budgeting and planning has really paid off as we run the business now together.
Yeah.
So now we're kind of both like, okay, we know how each other thinks. One's a spender, one's a saver. And then when the other one becomes a spender, the other one becomes a saver. It's like we kind of balance each other out. A lot of years of mismanaging money as well.
Yeah.
And then just having bills that just happen because you got kids and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. But it's a very practical thing. And I think a lot of people just assume, oh, you're a business owner or you're in Hollywood or you're whatever, everything's just glitz and glimmer and diamonds and, stuff all the time. And, personal chefs and, running around.
Yeah.
Like, no, like people still have to manage their lives. And I think
Absolutely.
the people who are on the same page doing that, like investing time into like the care for each other, making sure that, they've got a week or a weekend off or something like that, or some time for dates. Like those are the couples that make it, the ones that kind of get thrust too far into, I don't know, fame. I think a lot of times it's even harder because
Yeah.
you don't have that experience to just practically manage your life.
I think so. Yeah. I think that's very true. It's, I think you gotta make sure to recheck your priorities every now and then and make sure that the most important things are put first.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Very cool. So let's back up a little bit. So somebody who's getting started in this, and maybe it's a guy who's listening to the podcast, but I'm guessing it's probably like their kids or something like that. Have things changed now? Would you do things differently than the way you did it, or would you give them? What advice would you give them? I guess is what I'm trying to ask. Somebody who's getting started,
Yes.
like, I want to be a stuntman. I want to, be in this world. How do they go about it?
The advice I would give is the way that I would do it now is I would start by, first of all, training. Like find a group of like-minded people that also want to do them, that are passionate about this, that want to make movies or whatever, that will help you choreograph little action sequences, that will, sit down and watch a Jackie Chan fight scene frame by frame, and then you guys go and recreate it. Train with people. The second thing is get paid to train. Go to Universal Studios. They do these live action stunt shows. This is where a lot of stunt people who are working in Hollywood, this is a lot where they get their start. This is where they get their training. These live action stunt shows are basically, you get paid to learn how to do stunts. I wish I would have done that. I actually went to a stunt school in Seattle. I took out a large student loan to be able to afford it. And that it worked out for me. It really worked out for me, but I don't know that it would work out for everybody. I think that starting doing the live shows, moving to a film hub, are much better ways of doing it. That's the third thing is you got to be in a film hub. You know, you got to be in LA, you got to be in Georgia, you got to be in Vancouver, you got to be where films are being made. If you're not there, then you're wasting time. If this is something seriously that you want to be doing, you need to be knowing the players, because 90% of this business is who you know, and 10% is having the skills when you finally get that call. You know, so you got to be in the film hub. So wherever the stunt people, start following stunt people on Instagram, on Facebook. Where are they training at? Go train with them. Go make friends. You know, get plugged into to these groups, and you'll start seeing progress very quickly.
It's actually interesting because I guess in my mind I thought this whole like move to Hollywood, move to LA, become an actor or become a stuntman, whatever. I always just thought that was like you're just gonna get lost in the crowd. You're just gonna get washed, along with everybody else that's trying to make it, and you're gonna be living on the street or something like that. But that's really cool advice. I mean, maybe Georgia's a little bit easier, although I don't know. But that's really interesting to me actually. That is really the way where you go about it. That it is still so much of a ground level, just who kind of industry, and it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's possible to be living in the Midwest and just be like, here's my reel, similar.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
It happened to me, but I got insanely lucky.
Yeah, yeah.
That doesn't happen to everybody.
And I guess more opportunities for actual work would show up in these.
Oh, absolutely.
So
yeah,
and I guess part of that too is maybe give us some advice on the right kind of crowd to be involved in when you go there. So somebody's going to move to LA, or they're going to move to Vancouver or Georgia, wherever it happens to be. Like, what are the kind of people that they're looking for to be connected with? Because I imagine that you got some people who are, I don't know, they're lacking maturity, they're lacking focus, they're lacking direction. I hear from, I had Boz Rutten on the podcast a couple years back, and he had teamed up. He was actually like in the same apartment with like Kevin James. And
oh, wow.
And he was like, we were just friends. Like, we're just all hanging out. And Kevin was just getting started. And then he got the King of Queens role and all that kind of stuff. And so now Boz has been in a couple of his films and stuff like that. And, but anyhow, give us some advice on like the right kind of people. Like, what are you looking for when you go there?
I think that there are two criteria. First, people that are passionate about it. I don't know, like, I would take a passionate person over somebody who's technically skilled but doesn't care.
Yeah.
They got to be passionate about it. Look for people that are out every weekend, with their friends, putting together fight scenes, that are out at the gyms that these stunt people go to, and they're there all the time. Those are the people putting in work. Those are the people that are passionate about it. Those are the people that you want to have in your corner. Those are the people that you want to train with, because they're leveling up like crazy.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. And the second thing is look for people who are positive. There are some really talented people, really, really skilled people who limit themselves so much in this industry because they're negative. They're always talking crap on somebody. They're always looking down on other people. They start forming cliques, and basically they can get hired within their clique, but all the other cliques hate them.
Yeah.
Don't be in a clique. Don't be a jerk. Don't look down on people. Help people. I think that the positive energy really it sells you more than anything else, because at the end of the day, you're going to be spending at the bare minimum 10 hours a day with the person that hired you.
Yeah.
And if you're a good person, that just makes their job so much easier to say, hey, come spend 10 hours with me and make me look good by just being a good person and hanging around.
Yeah. I was really impressed by my one day on the set there. I was really impressed by just the professionalism of the people that were, running something, whether it was makeup, hair, whatever it happened to be. but just everybody had this really like this sense of like, you need to be here and be a professional at what you do. That means you show up on time. That means you don't cut corners. It means you handle whatever needs to be handled. And I think that's something that's really missing from just a lot of people who want to get into the industry because it's cool or it's fun or whatever. Maybe they haven't had the experience of like, how do I actually show up on time, manage my life, be
Yeah,
respectful, ask the right questions, and those kinds of things. So I would imagine that's important as well because I just, I think that's key.
it's huge. Yeah, I mean, it's a set etiquette. If you show up and you make your boss look good, like why wouldn't they hire you again? If you show up and you make your boss look bad for hiring you, like you're not going to work with them again. That was your chance. That was your shot. And I find that almost everybody who works on large movies or big TV shows, things that you see commercials for, things that like people want to see,
Yeah.
they're all very professional, very nice. It's people that kind of work on the B and C list things. They're just as talented. They're just as skilled. And I'm not saying everybody, but I find that there's a lot more stress involved with some of those productions. I find that there is a lot more infighting between groups. And maybe that's just a budget thing. It could be that, they're just stressed because of budget and these bigger shows have more budget. But I do find that the people who are kind of unflappable and good people tend to rise to the top.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. One of the things that we often see now, we kind of get some insight into some of the stuntman behind the scenes stuff is these guys will be acting, kind of rehearsing these roles where they've got like 1,000 cardboard boxes set up, as like, this is a corridor and this is the hallway and these are the moves. And sometimes they're on the wires and sometimes they're just jumping over stuff and knocking things down. What is that? What's taking place there? Like, and how big a part of the rehearsal of all of that takes place before the actual shoot?
I mean, smart productions and productions that have a large budget, they tend to try to set these things up as far in advance as possible. They don't want to have any issues, and a good stunt team will make sure to trial and error everything so that it's as safe and repeatable as possible.
Yeah.
Whatever the stunt is. If your stunt team is trying to figure out the stunt on the day, one of two things has happened. Either, they didn't get the time, from production to be able to do this. And production is just shooting themselves in the foot at this point, because now you're figuring it out on camera and the potential for somebody to get hurt is much higher. Or it's just an inexperienced stunt team that didn't think to ask for time.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. When a role requires something extra, like you've got to learn a particular type of martial arts, or at least a little bit, or some sword work, or particular like some kind of hand-to-hand combat, whatever it happens to be, something unique for that particular role. Is that on you to figure out, or do they say, "Hey, we're going to hook you up with somebody that's going to get you squared away and ready for this role, so that you kind of match up to what the other stunt guys are doing?" And that kind of like, how does that stuff happen?
So usually that will come down from the stunt coordinator,
Okay.
And the fight coordinator. They will kind of set the style of the show. And the fight coordinator, it's their job to basically make sure that, put together the fights, right? And to train the actors, to train the stunt people to do what they're putting together. So usually it'll be the fight coordinator that'll train me. Oftentimes though, I will go out and I'll brush up on whatever it is. If I know that a movie's coming up that does sword work, I'll get a dummy sword and I'll go out and I'll train with my friends and kind of brush up on it. I'm not going to show up, rusty. I just think that's unprofessional,
That's unprofessional. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's good. All right. Very cool. Is there any insights to stunt manning? I don't know the terms for these things, by the way. I didn't know if you guys are called like stunties or stunt people, or like, I was like, what's the terminology? But for the stunt work that you do, are there any kind of like inside things where you're just like, nobody knows this, but this is what happens? I'm kind of putting you on the spot here. If there's not anything, you can just tell me no, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But is there anything where you're like, oh, people would think this is cool? I know this
Well,
is kind of
kind of the opposite of that. There's most of the stuff that I do on set is just sitting around,
Mm-hmm.
You know, my phone battery is, I tell my wife it was a good day on set if I still have phone battery when I get home.
Yeah.
You know, most of my day is sitting around. I guess that's the surprising thing that I can think of.
Well, it is, because when you see it, obviously it's all put together and it's just like go, go, go. But
Yeah.
I was surprised too that just how much time it takes to like reset the cameras, reset the
Oh
lighting.
yeah.
The lighting sometimes has to adjust for, okay, it's been an extra 15 minutes. The sun has gone down a little bit more. So we need a little more light over here. You know, there's just a lot of things that have to take place just to do that, you know, half a second, 2 second shot sometimes.
Oh
And,
yeah.
there's a lot of, you know, sometimes you see the guys over on the side like talking it out, like how are we going to shoot this? What's the best way? Do we have time for another shot, another angle, that kind of stuff, right? So yeah, there really is a lot of that sitting around, and so
Oh yeah.
yeah. All right, very cool, man. I don't think I have any other questions. I mean, I probably do, but I'm not going to take any more of your time. This has been really insightful. I'm actually really excited to see your career. I think it's just so cool, man, just to see how just the things you've been posting lately, and how excited you get to be with some of these films that you're doing, and how much of a champion you are for Chris Pratt as well, knowing that he's a cool dude and doing some awesome things. So I really appreciate you being on the
I
podcast.
appreciate it, man. Thank you. I really am. I would consider myself the luckiest stunt person in the world to be paired with Chris. I mean, he's a good dude. He's a talented dude, and yeah, I mean, we get to make cool movies together. So it's been a really good ride for me, and I'm super grateful for it.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.